Build on this conversation. General Karen Gibson of Academy Securities writing, as long as Iran retains the ability to contest the strait, we could face enduring challenges to navigation. This may not end until we have an enduring diplomatic solution. General Gibson joins us now for more. General, good morning.
Good morning.
How much closer are we to that diplomatic solution?
Well, I think the fact that there's an exchange of points, obviously that we continue to talk, and that now we've paused and we'll wait 48 hours to hear what Iran has to say, that's a positive development. It will be interesting to see what Iran has to say. And this is it sounds a bit like what Iran has asked for, to decouple, let's address the navigation issues first, and then get into the details of the nuclear negotiations.
How difficult will that sequencing be?
I think it'll depend on a couple of things. And, of course, I don't know what the details are in this one-page memo. Do we retain the blockade until we get a nuclear agreement? Or is this just about getting ships in and out of the Gulf?
When it comes to Strait of Hormuz, why would Iran be willing to give up that leverage? Because that is really their one piece of leverage over the United States and the rest of the world.
So I don't see how they even give it up. I mean, so in what I wrote that you quoted, it's their ability to contest. They don't even have to control the strait. They just have to have an ability to contest and make it more dangerous periodically. And as long as there is a drone within range of the straits, I think they will retain that ability to contest the straits if they choose.
Even if we are moving into a phase where there's diplomacy and they're going back and forth with these memos and then potentially even a meeting, they will just still try to maintain this ability to contest it with drones or whatever they have, speedboats.
I don't mean to say that they'll actively contest it. I just mean it's hard to eliminate that ability. And I think as long as there's positive progress for them economically in terms of lifting sanctions, in terms of prolonging the negotiation for a nuclear deal, it is in their benefit to demonstrate good faith and to allow ships through, but they'll always, I think, have that ability.
Last night, the president put out a Truth Social post saying that he was pausing Project Freedom. Mm-hmm. That's a humanitarian effort. Why would he pause it?
I think yesterday's, or I guess it was now, the day before, the initial Project Freedom mission was interesting. Again, like so many other things, from a narrow military perspective, tactically successful. We safely escorted ships through. But Iran demonstrated there could be a cost for that kind of movement with their strike on the port in Fujairah for the Emiratis or hitting another ship or two. And so I think there's a desire to let's see if we can negotiate something that will ensure additional safe passage rather than do this contested navigation that results in strikes elsewhere.
How important is China to all of this, given the fact that earlier this morning we had an official Chinese statement saying that they were urging Iran to discuss this diplomatically and prevent any kind of resumption of kinetic warfare?
So certainly it's very much in China's interests to have this safe navigation through the strait because they receive so much of their oil and petrochemicals, not all of it, not even the majority, but they receive a lot of it through there. I think they have an ability to influence Iran because of the tremendous amount of product that they buy from them, but I don't think they want to own Iran's response. So we also have the Xi-Trump meeting coming up, and I'm sure this will be a topic.
Well, I just want to tie this all together because until now we really haven't seen many official Chinese statements other than that they hope that there's restraint on all sides and that they never enjoy warfare, et cetera, et cetera. Otherwise, there's been pretty much of a backseat. A lot of people have been wondering where they're playing in this, some speculation on various things. At this point, though, do you think they are a more key player because of the upcoming meetings with Xi and Trump and because of some of these back-channel communications between China and Iran?
Certainly, I think the Xi-Trump meeting raises their importance in this discussion, and it will color much of the discussion that will occur between those two leaders. And perhaps is even some leverage they may use in trade negotiations. You know, their ability to influence Iran is something that they could offer as the two leaders discuss other issues.
Headlines like this will certainly incentivize things. This from Bank of America just moments ago. The title reads as follows: the summer of $4 gas. North of $4.50 a gallon on average across this country will certainly lubricate the talks, I would say, in the weeks to come.
They might be lubricating some of the headlines and some of the dialing down of the rhetoric, given the fact that oil prices in the United States had the highest average prices going back to July of 2022, heading into the midterms and heading into the summer driving season. This clearly is going to be on the minds of political operatives in D.C.
And it's on the minds of every American that drives past a gas station. You see it. That is a tax on American families every single day. And this is what really hurt the Biden administration. And obviously Trump, who said he was going to bring prices down for American people, understands this going into the midterm election.
General, in the seconds we have left, clearly there is some optimism this morning. What is the language that you'd look for throughout this morning to validate signs of real progress?
Well, if Iran is going to be silent for 48 hours, we may not see anything. But I would watch to see their rhetoric. You know, do they say, we look forward to reviewing this, or do they reject it out of hand immediately? So what do they put out publicly?
General, appreciate your time. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
It's great to have you in New York. General Karen Gibson there of Academy Securities. If you are just joining us, some positive signs on the diplomatic side of things, including a big rally as well in tech. AMD is absolutely flying. Futures are higher. Session highs up by 0.8 on the S&P 500. Crude is lower. Bond yields are too, across the curve.
There's clear optimism, and I think it's really notable to show how different these two stories are. Potential economic hit from the oil prices versus the trade in AMD. Max Kettner saying this is a stock market that is less and less economically sensitive, and that is a point I think really has been emphasized.